What's mental health?
He asks all the questions everybody wants to know.
It basically includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being.
You're driving me half out of me mind, you crazy old coat.
It affects how we think, feel, and act.
Oh my God.
Not just that, mental health helps to determine how we handle stress, and other things as humans. The Mind Clinic, a platform where people can talk about issues directly or indirectly on mental health.
It's the Mind Clinic, a very special program that surrounds everything mental health, and it's proudly brought to you by the Neem Foundation. Last week on the show, we talked postpartum depression, and we had a guest in the studio, Dr. Johnny Kwani. Big shout outs to him. She's a co-host on the program. Not so much of an introduction at this time. Chinyeru Goldense, a clinical psychologist from Neem Foundation, is here in the studio. Good morning, Chinyeru.
Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Abuja.
Sounds cold, but I mean, Abuja is so hot. I don't know why she sounds a bit cold this morning. It's all good. My name is Victor Pepple. I'm not alone. Andana Ingia is in the studio.
Yes, my name is Andana Ingia, and of course, there are lots of questions as far as mental health is concerned. And I can't just wait to go.
Exactly. And we have Fumi in the studio this morning. Is that the name?
Fumi B.
Fumi B.
Yes.
Oh, Fumi B, glad to have you in the studio as well. But perhaps we'll hear Fumi's voice again when we want to sign out on the program. Now, we're talking about women. This month is solely dedicated to women in Nigeria and perhaps in the world. 8th of March, internationally. Annually, we celebrate women, International Women's Day on the 8th of March. I mean, preceding the day, we had several engagements all across in Abuja, a lot of events talking about women. On the day of the event, we had a lot of organizations celebrating women. After the event, we still have people talking about women and celebrating women.
I think throughout this month, you're going to have lots of events geared around celebrating women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the big question for some people, beyond, a woman is your mother, a woman is someone who gave birth to you. Who is indeed a woman? If you put that description out there, you'd hear from men. I might not be able to discuss for a woman, but you hear that some men are 40 years, they behave like boys. And so you see some women very angry, say, that man is not a man, he's a boy. There are lots of yardsticks to measure some of these things, and there are parameters to all of them. But to you, exactly. So we'll throw the phone lines open much later. In your own words, as part of celebrating women, we'd like to find out from you. First question. We'll give you a lot of questions in the course of the show, though. But the first one, help us by your description. Let us know who a woman is to you. For some, one word you'd hear is she's resilient. She's strong. She's a home builder. She's a nurturer. She's a teacher. Because we hear the child first learn whatever from the mother. And it goes on and on and on. So I'll begin with you. I know you're a man. But tell us who you think a woman is.
What's surprising is the moment he asked that question, not in a bit to sound academic, but the thing is, I've been around women all my life. Of course, have 4 sisters, have 2 daughters, have a wife, and all of that. But the definition of who a woman is, for me, it's pretty difficult.
A woman is a female human being. The word woman is usually reserved for an adult, and a girl usually for a female child or an adolescent. So it goes beyond that, but this is primary dictionary definition of the term woman. We've seen in Nigeria that to build a nation, like it or not, Nigeria cannot progress without women. In any organization at all, though some would tell you, in certain positions, women are very emotional. You can't put them there. In the front lines, in the military, you can't put a woman there. Even if the woman is there, when you're fighting, you want to take care of the woman, and it goes on and on. But we've seen a call by the president's wife in time past that we should also have women there, and we're very sure that women will do better at the front lines of fighting perhaps insurgency in Nigeria. But beyond all of this, well, he covers the military. I don't know why he said we don't want the women perhaps fighting, but we'll talk about that much later. Let's get into the meat of the conversation this morning. Of course, we're celebrating the women, and on the show today, we've decided to describe all the women listening, perhaps the ones in the studio, as superwoman. But beyond the term superwoman, I can tell you for a fact that women too go through stuff, right? And as a woman, there are challenges that women face on a daily basis. And some of those challenges sometimes would come from pressure from the society. If you're a woman and you get to a certain age, it is expected that you should be married. And you hear people ask you, when are you getting married? And when you get married, eventually, if the children are not coming forth, they don't ask the man sometimes. Sometimes they do, but a lot of time the pressure comes to the woman. When do we expect a baby now? And all of that, those questions come through. But let's begin first with the challenges women face in managing societal roles.
Like you mentioned, there's so much expectation on women. We talked earlier about the different roles that women play in the society. She's the mom, she's the caretaker, she's the provider, she's the listener, she's the teacher, she's this and she's that, and she's everything. And in as much as a lot of us, take on those roles and responsibility, and we enjoy doing that, like you mentioned, they do come with a lot of stress. You find women who feel guilty because they're taking care of themselves and they don't want to, they don't want to take themselves out of the equation because society expects them, everybody expects them. If she takes a little bit of a time to breathe, everyone is like, oh, you left your husband and your children. Oh, you left your parents. Oh, you did this, you did that. And everyone is always looking at her and telling her there's a certain code of conduct or there has to be a mold that she needs to fit in. And expectations a lot of time put pressure on people, whether it's internally or externally, whatever the source of the pressure is. And we know that when these things happen, we are predisposed to developing challenges, anxiety, depression. Statistically, we have more women with more mental health challenges than men. We can argue about what the source of that is or why that happens, but regardless of it, you still have women who develop more mental health challenges because of the expectations or social roles that are being placed on them, as a result of society and the pressure.
So I for a moment, just as a follow-up to that, is it possible, although I've seen this happen so many times, just for an example that people can relate with, you find a case where a woman works at a bank and then she closes from work and then she has to give up some food for children. And sometimes you even find situations where some organizations are not so willingly open to hiring women who are married. Mm-hmm. They would rather, go for a lady who is single and all of that. So the question basically is, looking at all of this, can women actually juggle multiple roles? Is that possible?
It's on an individual basis. I can't say everybody can do it. Some people find ways to mitigate and help themselves with all these challenges that could come through as a result of maybe you close work late and you have to get home and do this and do that. Some people find a way to balance it, and other people do struggle. And so the conversation should be the people who are struggling, what can you do to help yourself? What are the things that you can do? Is it something you want to have a conversation with your partner? Do you want to have a conversation with your organization? Do you want to work in a different setting that accommodates what you are looking for? So it's on an individual basis for the person to actually identify what it is that they want and how they can go around solving that problem. So I can't say to you, all the women who are working, they need to make sure that they all have a house help. What if they can't afford it? It makes life easy, yes, but then in your own particular situation, how can you make your own life easy? Or should you now tell your husband he should be the one cooking? What if he works late too? What if he cannot cook? What if you don't have that agreement with him? Lots of women have agreements with their partners where the husband picks up the child, she comes in and she does this. So there's that's balance where they help each other. So again, it boils down to the individual. What works for you? What can you do to solve the problem that you have in that situation of balancing your work and your family?
So can you help me understand this? I get sometimes, and most of the times, the focus is on women, particularly when it comes to career women and, relating it to the issue, because I've seen women literally go crazy as a result of the pressure that comes with trying to balance all of this, But don't you think we should also target the men in their lives, and by saying men in their lives from the office, because I'm taking that from the statement you made, those having conversations with their partners and then their bosses in various offices and all of that. Shouldn't we deliberately also target such people so that they would also understand the plight of some of these career women and all of that?
I wish society was kinder to us and accommodating of the different roles that we have to take on. We not just birth, we don't just give birth to children. We also do a lot of things. So I do wish society was a bit more kind to us in that extent. But yes, we do have to also speak with the men, because you're a partner for a reason. You're not just there to be, a dictator and match on and expect everybody to fall in line. But then if that type of relationship works for you, go for it. At the end of the day, it's the woman and the man, they both have to have a discussion and say, this is what works for us, let's do it or let's not do it, and find a way. But we should have discussions with men and women and say, how do we partner? How do we make this work for both parties so that the woman doesn't go crazy?
I'll have to quickly bring in the issue of gender roles and responsibility to this conversation, because I see that back in the day, you could say a woman's place is in the kitchen and she would not argue much with her partner. We have woke women now. Permit my language. We have women who some would say, well, I'm a feminist. We have a lot of young ladies in this generation that would tell you what my mother was able to tolerate in the past, I will not stand it. I will stand up against it. Perhaps they grew up seeing that their father would hit their mothers. She would suffer in the kitchen. They would go to school, come back. She's still in the kitchen. She did a lot. And lots of them have been able to come out vocally to say, this is not the life I want for myself. Yeah. I want to work. I want to sit at that table like other men, make decisions, quality decisions. But some other times we see that women are abused verbally, emotionally. There's this superiority of some sort. And this affects women a lot across all organizations, across all levels. Yeah. And most times you have to deal with that at work. Coming back home, if you have an abusive partner, a toxic partner, in addition to all of that. Yeah. And there are some women who are able to endure all of this, but there are some others who are not able to, run through with this. You are a psychologist. I'm sure, yes, there's sometimes you hear people with some of these problems. What advice would you give to some of those who have a similar challenge and are listening to the program at this time?
So if a woman has an abusive relationship, if she's in an abusive relationship and she still has to deal with workplace stress. And we're going to dive a little bit more into abuse next week. But again, it comes down to the individual. I don't like to generalize. I like to be a bit more individual. Well, approach every challenge in its context, whatever the person brings to the table. I do want to tell people that I have seen how much of an impact psychologically abuse can have on a woman. Abuse can have on a child, a girl child. I've seen what it does to a person, even growing up. And I say, you don't have to endure abuse. You should not actually endure abuse. You should not do that. Because down the line, you may look at it as like, oh yeah, that's okay, that's who he is, or that's who, abuse does not always have to be in the home. It could actually be in the workplace. Maybe your boss is verbally abusing you or sexually abusing you or anything. You should not actually do that. Not because you're trying to be in the workplace, let's say you're trying to be disrespectful. No, but you're trying to protect your mental health. That's what you should be most focused on. That abuse is not something that we should take for granted. We should not take it lightly. You should speak up. You should find a trusted partner and you should speak to that person. I know lots of women who in abusive relationships, they go to maybe their father-in-law or they go to family to talk about it and say, this is not right. And in some cases, you have family who are supportive and, and intervene and ensure that the woman isn't getting abused. But it's very important for you to speak up when you're being abused. It's really hard. There's a lot behind it. There's a lot of things that we cannot explain that go on behind women. So we can't just say, oh yeah, it's easy, get up and run. It's not that easy. But then you should speak up, because at the end of the day, you as the person who is enduring it will be the one to suffer it the most.
All right. As a married person, sometimes you have challenges as a married person, even as a man, and you feel you should talk to one or two persons, and then what comes to your mind is that it's like I'm taking my problems to You know that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of, I'm telling you this for real. I have to deal with this sort of, thoughts sometimes. And I'm trying to wonder how, as a man sometimes, or a partner, a woman is going through this, and you take this to family members or even a trusted person. Sometimes your partners don't even take kindly to that as such. But I also want to look at the area of support, for instance, which is, because I think that with the conversation we're having, it's not just about support shouldn't just be restricted to your immediate partner or to your close family. But I'm looking at it, it should be on a broader spectrum. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I have a theory in my head. I don't know. I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine here, and I was saying, look, women have 3 months to go on maternity leave. Okay. Now I know the advantages of having my mother around when I was growing up. I know for a period of time she wasn't working, so she had ample time to spend with us. So can't we have a situation in legislation that would allow corporate organizations to have nurseries where women who have children, because I think that usually is part of the problem as well. Yeah. Where they can conveniently bring their children, follow up with a breastfeeding thing rather than, extracting milk in a bottle and keeping it somewhere and all of that. I'm just saying, shouldn't we be looking at this at the legislative level, have some sort of legislation that will cater for all of these things? Have these support systems in place for women.
All right, definitely we should have a legislation, but we need to open up the phone lines now because we're running really out of time. Not just the heat in Abuja at this time, the time is also running so fast. So we'll throw the phone lines open so we get reactions from our callers, male and female. For the men, we'd like to ask if you're giving enough support and what we can do to support women more moving forward. And then for the women, we'd like for you to share an experience with us. We'd like to find out from you as well how you're able to manage the issues or the challenges that comes with societal roles, or how you're able to manage career and family. 08178000947, 0901094777. Please turn down the volume on your radio.
Yeah, thank you. Hello,
good morning. Please tell us your name. Good morning. Is this Joy?
Yes, this is Joy. It's calling from Kubwa.
All right, Joy, go ahead.
Yes. First of all, I want to say something about women. They say a lot of things. I like what Dr. Dempsey said.
Okay.
The expectations and that are attached to definition of who a woman is. Because we give all of those qualifications to women, it's almost like the woman needs to live up to those definitions, and you start struggling to fit into all of that. That's number one. And secondly, I would say, looking at especially Nigeria and Africa, I think women, we are our own problems now.
How so?
Because the culture, for instance, a woman is widowed. You would say, who says the woman should shave her hair when she is widowed? It's the other woman that would say, the culture says you should shave your hair. Who is the one pressuring for a child in marriage? Your mother-in-law, who is a woman too. Who would say, why is the woman not cooking in the house and the man is the one helping out? It's a fellow woman. Your mother-in-law or your own mother will come and say, why is this woman a career woman? That's not the culture. It's not supposed to be like that, So women are our own problems. We are our own problems.
All right, Joy, I need to come in quickly, Joy. Now, you'd agree that these were in time past, perhaps in the previous generations, till now? So are you also saying that we have a lot of women who are not supporting women?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
As I speak, I have a boss who is a female.
Okay.
I tell you, I sometimes wish I had a male boss.
Wow.
Because if you wake up in the morning and set the phone and say, my child is gay, she doesn't see any reason why you should be with me. I don't think to look at the fact.
Yeah.
And she doesn't see any reason why you should take a position to stay.
All right, Joy, we need to let you go now. Thank you, Joy.
That's my take.
Thank you, Joy, for your contribution on the show. Hello, good morning. Please turn down the volume on your radio. Please say your name. Your name is? I'm so sorry, we can barely hear you. Say your name again.
I said my name is OGB.
OGB.
Yes.
Where are you calling from?
From Central Area.
Please go ahead.
There is something, yes, sir, and I want to take it from there.
All right.
There is what is called individual differences.
Okay.
Just like the last caller. You know, women, I don't know why there have always been the problem with women. You see a woman hardly support another woman, and that is the truth. But it still boils back to individual differences. But what I want to really talk about is a man being a man for real, and knowing that a man does not need the boss. Even as a man means you also help your wife in doing things in the house. It's not necessarily just because you're a man, you just sit down there, look for everything, your clothes washed, you just try to put the food in your mouth by yourself. That is not why you're a man. You're a man because you are the head. The head needs to dictate, to set the pace, to make the children know, this is how it should be. That's why you are a man.
All right, OGB.
So men will believe that a woman will cook, she will wash, she will do everything just because you are a man. No, this is not the generation. That time has passed away.
Now, do you help? I'm sorry, are you married?
Of course, yes. I am married with children.
Do you help your wife?
I have to invest in it, so I'm telling you from experience.
So you help your wife. Are you saying you also help your wife in the house? That's what I'm asking.
I have a wife.
Do you help her? Do you help her in the kitchen? Do you help her do chores?
I just dropped my wife off in her office now.
I'm asking about in the house.
In the house, yes, I do. I cook. Most times I make me with that.
Okay.
Why would I? I don't need to something with that person. I'm not saying that. But most times, like some women, that's why it comes to some of them.
OGB.
Not doing those things. They will not turn to your husband. That's where we have the problem.
Okay, I get your point. He said a lot already. OGB, we need to give you a round of applause. Thank you so much. And this applause is because you help your wife in the kitchen. All right, thank you so much. We have a lot of callers trying to get through to us in the studio. I'm sure the issues of challenges of women, especially in regards to society, they are quite enormous. So we'll get back to the phone lines. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Please say your name. Okay, Joyous Joy this time. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think with the discussion, needs to start to talk about coming in.
Okay.
For me, yes, a career woman, married, and have children. Those are what the other legitimate story. Because we want to do that. It shows you of women not helping themselves. If personally, we have 50% or 90% of women supporting each other, just things that don't pass too many things. But if you're not doing there are some things that the wife, if you're also not doing some things that you are meant to do, another women see, another in the city, another that is the elderly women see, people like that thing. Sometimes another you don't see. But things that don't have that kind of when men are supporting, yes, like this, when I'm coming home and I know I'll be very lazy to tell you, I come to my husband, if it's just so bad.
Joy, we need to let you go. The quality on the call is very poor. We're struggling to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a bit better. Is there something else you can do to help us? Yes, I think it's clearer now.
Okay, I just wound up. My glass was down.
Okay.
All right. Like I was saying that days when I'm coming back and it's running late and my husband is home, I called to him to just talk to him something is happening with you. Because it's a matter of things happening to him. It was not a matter. He couldn't find himself. You understand?
Yes. Yes.
Before a woman like myself comes to the picture.
Okay.
I'm being a career woman sometimes. I also have a work of which sometimes for life. It breaks my heart when
Wow, female bosses.
this is why this thing happens because of the home ground, which yes, you're not meant to bring your home issues to work. But I don't believe that some areas where you can't help people just think that this is the
All right, Joy. Thank you so much, Joyous Joy.
It's still happening, and it's discouraging.
All right.
Like this time and age, we should accept how women should work for food right now. It's a 50-50 or 60-40 chance workforce when it comes to the home front.
All right, Joy. We need to take more calls now.
All right, no wahala.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Purple, I think she has to react.
She will react
to that point where a lot of women are saying you guys are not.
We still have a lot of calls coming in. Let's see how we can take a lot of them, and then we'll wrap
hear
up.
what like stay-at-home moms have to say.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, President.
Please say your name.
My name is Goodluck.
All right. But this is not Good Luck, Jonathan? All right, Good Luck. That was a joke. Go ahead now.
I think, first of all, any man that does not value any woman, I think his day on earth will be limited.
Okay.
First of all, there is no successful man without having a very handsome and beautiful, helping woman at home. I think we must be better. But there is one problem that I always have.
What's the problem?
The problem is that it's not as if the men are not willing to help. You are helping, but at a point, they want to make it a duty for you that this thing that you are helping today, that you should continue on every day, even when they have time to do that. So the women have a lot of jobs to do. They need to educate themselves. They need to enlighten themselves. They need to encourage themselves. Because the most problem the women are having is not the men. It's the women themselves. So in this aspect, I really want the women to at least encourage themselves and educate more on this particular issue when it comes to domestic issues, I think.
All right. Thank you so much. Good luck. We see more calls coming, but very sincere apologies because of our time. We might not be able to take all of them because we need to react to some of the issues the callers have raised this morning. And one to mention is the issue of female boss. Sometimes we have supportive female bosses, and some other times it's not so easy. You heard some of the callers. I want your reactions on this.
So going by what has been said, I mean, it sounds as though there is a need for women to actually support each other, and that is quite unfortunate that the callers, what we've heard states showing that most women don't support each other. It's like we are our own worst.
But do you
enemies.
think women are supporting women?
If I'd have to answer, it would be very subjective. So the women in my circle are very supportive of each other. If I had to go by my own, but hearing what other people say, probably from their own experiences, it sounds as though they're in situations where women don't support each other. I work in an organization that is owned by women and is run by women, and they are very, very supportive of the females and the males in the organization. So again, I can't say women
and I quite agree with you. But you know that also in terms of politics, you'd hear women say, because I'm a female candidate, I expect other women to rally around me, give support and all that. But we don't see a lot of that because the women will tell you their husbands sometimes tell them what to do in regards to elections.
Yeah. I mean, if we had to look at it, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know. We don't know why this happens. Or maybe that's something we should begin to explore. And I like how the man said that we need to start to think different as women so that we can support each other, we can lift each other. I mean, that's the whole idea of International Women's Day, where we lift each other. It's on both sides, men and women. But if the women aren't supportive of each other, because we understand our own unique experiences, and if we don't support each other, then we might be in more trouble. We can't expect the man to support us when we don't support ourselves.
Well, it's a good place to leave the conversation because of our time. But you can hook up with the Neem Sanctuary, Twitter, Instagram. It's a Neem Sanctuary.
Yes.
And then you can call 0707
0706 062 5054.
0706
062 5054.
That's about it on the program for today. Again, I must say thank you so much, Chinyerugo Udensi, clinical psychologist at the Neem Foundation. I must also thank you so much, Fumi B, for being a part of the conversation. My colleague here in the studio, Andana Ingia. My name remains Victor Pepple.